Somewhere in the vastness of space, a cargo spaceship called Nostromo was carrying valuable minerals back to Earth. The ship AI activated the hypersleep pods, which woke up the whole crew. Dallas, the ship captain, entered the console room to figure out their situation, while the rest of the crew enters the cockpit to pinpoint out their exact location. The crew found out that their ship AI happened to pick up an unknown signal and altered its own course in order to intercept it. The reason the ship AI prematurely woke up the crew was to investigate the mysterious source. Parker, the ship's engineer, protested because he believed that they're not a rescue team, but Ash, the science officer, managed to convince them to investigate. The crew tracked down the signal to an unknown planet. Due to a rough landing, part of the ship got damaged. Brett, the ship technician, together with Parker, came up with a solution to fix the problem. Even though the visibility was low, a small team set out on foot to find the source of the unknown signal. Warrant Officer Ripley stayed behind to try and decipher it. After a while, the exploration team found a strange-looking spacecraft with unknown origin. Inside the creepy ship, they found the remains of an alien creature with a hole on its chest. At the same time, Ripley successfully decodes the signal, identifying it as a warning instead of a distress signal. Back in the alien ship, Kane, the executive officer, found several unidentified alien eggs. Naturally, he just had to touch it. After touching one, a spider-like creature jumped out of the egg and latched itself to his face, melting his faceplate in the process. Dallas and their navigator, Lambert, quickly carried Kane back to the Nostromo, but Ripley refused them entry. Despite the danger, Ash disregards the quarantine protocols and proceeded to open the hatch. The crew took Kane to the infirmary to examine the organism. Inside the infirmary, Ash tried to remove the unknown organism from Kane's face, but his attempt was futile. When they tried cutting up the creature, a drop of its blood almost ate through the hull of their ship. Fearing the worst, they had no choice but to leave it to chill on Kane's face. After further examination, Ash found out that the creature was capable of evolving to fit its new environment. Fearful of how dangerous it could be, Ripley confronts Ash for putting all their lives at risk by letting the creature in, but Ash simply waved off her concerns. After a while, Ash called Dallas and Ripley to inform them that the creature had disappeared. While searching for it, the creature fell from a compartment, hitting Ripley's shoulder as it helplessly fell down to the floor. After observing it, they arrived to the conclusion that it was totally dead. Ripley argued to dispose of it, but Ash refused, stating his intention to take it back to Earth for further examination. After determining that the ship's repairs were good enough, Dallas decided that it was finally time to withdraw. The crew went back to orbit and continued on their course towards Earth. To their surprise, Kane suddenly woke up without any abnormalities whatsoever. Despite the absurdity of the situation, they carried on as usual because it makes perfect sense. The crew decided to have a meal before they hibernate. They were enjoying their food when Kane suddenly started to convulse while screaming in agony. The crew tried to help ease his suffering, but it was too little too late. An unidentified creature busted out of his chest and disappeared quickly into the hallway, leaving the whole crew dumbfounded. Horrified of an unknown species lurking at their ship, the remaining crew members unanimously agreed to search for it. Ripley teamed up with Parker and Brett to investigate the lower deck of the ship. Using a tracker, they picked up a signal and prepared to corner it. A creature suddenly leapt towards them and they frantically tried to catch it. But it managed to escape when they realized that it was only their pet cat named Jones. Realizing that the cat could trigger the tracker and fool them once again, they sent Brett to go after it. Brett managed to catch up with the cat, but the alien, now a fully grown adult with an appetite for blood, appeared behind him and ended his career. Ripley and Parker returned to the crew and informed them about their predicament. The crew determined that the only way to deal with it is to drive it into an airlock and eject it out of the ship. Ripley volunteered to be the bait, but Dallas decided that it was a good time to be a gentleman and took on the role for himself. With a flamethrower on his hand, Dallas sprang into action and entered the shafts. Lambert caught a signal of a creature approaching Dallas. Panicked, Dallas used the flamethrower only to end up burning nothing but air. Disoriented, Dallas used a ladder to descend to the next platform only to be greeted with a friendly hug. After the debacle, Lambert suggested to abandon the ship, but Parker proposed to stick with the plan because it's clearly working. Ripley, on the other hand, tried to seek help from Ash, but she quickly learned that he is completely and utterly useless. Ripley then examined the ship's AI and was shocked to learn the truth. It turned out that the ship's AI was conspiring with Ash all along. Their priority task was to ensure the capture of the specimen and to bring it back to Earth for further analysis. The lives of the crew were secondary and they were marked as expendable. Furious, Ripley confronted Ash and tried to alert the remaining members of the crew. But Ash locked her in and a showdown between the two commenced. In their scuffle, Ash managed to overpower Ripley. Fortunately, before Ash could successfully suffocate Ripley, Parker and Lambert arrived to save her ass. Parker was molested by Ash, so he retaliated by using a fire extinguisher as a melee weapon. After a successful combo, Parker used his finishing move and the battle ended with a fatality. The crew were shocked to find out that Ash was actually a walking bucket of tin can. After dropping his guard down, Parker was grabbed by Ash trying to go for round 2. But Lambert had a different plan. She grabbed a rod and performed a backstab which resulted on a critical hit that finally caused his .X to malfunction. Ripley speculated that the corporation knew about the existence of the alien and that they were intentionally sent to procure it. Thinking that Ash may have hidden additional information about the creature, Ripley used her level 10 hacking skill and managed to bring Ash back online. Ash finally admits to them that his order was to bring back the creature at all costs, even at the expense of the well-being of the entire crew. But when Ripley asked him how to deal with the creature, Ash simply taunts them. Angered, Ripley uninstalled his whole existence. Left with no other options, the trio decided to trigger Nostromo's self-destruct mechanism and use an escape shuttle to get the hell out of there. With renewed determination, the survivors swiftly moved out to execute their new plan. While Ripley was getting the shuttle ready for the takeoff, she suddenly heard the meow of their pet cat and decided to venture out to look for it. Naturally, she found the lost pussy in the cockpit. Meanwhile, in the storage room, Parker and Lambert were too busy to notice the alien approaching them from behind. The two finally noticed the creature, but it was already too late for them to run away. The alien was in range of Parker's flamethrower, but the fire could also burn Lambert, so he decided to use the flamethrower as a melee weapon. He charged at the alien only to get his ass whooped by its rear end. Annoyed at Parker, the alien decided to terminate him first. Ripley, hearing Parker's demise on the intercom, quickly rushed to aid her comrades. But all hope was lost the moment she heard Lambert's gagging noises through the intercom. Ripley finally arrived expecting a confrontation, but the alien has already moved on, leaving her comrades' deceased bodies on the site. Devastated, Ripley moved to execute the plan by herself. Staying calm and composed, she activated her hidden genius to effortlessly initiate the ship's self-destruct mechanism. Ripley descended down to the hold and was shocked to discover Dallas and Brett adhered to a wall and was clearly alive and suffering. Dallas begged her to put an end to their misery, and Ripley happily obliged. On her way back to the shuttle, the alien blocked her path, so she ended up doing the most logical thing to do. She left her cat behind as sacrifice and then she ran to the opposite direction. Fortunately for the pussy cat, the alien wasn't in the mood to tango. Ripley ended up back where she came from and she decided to restart the self-destruct sequence to buy herself more time to escape. But she failed miserably. Frustrated, she runs back to the path where she left the cat. With no other options but to fight her way through, she strengthened her resolve. But when she arrived, the alien was AFK and the cat was unharmed. With one fell swoop, she managed to pick up the cat and sprint towards the shuttle. She was able to escape the destruction of the Nostromo just in the nick of time. Assuming that the crisis was all over, she gave her pussy cat one last hug before she deposited it in one of the hibernation pods. For no apparent reason, she took off her clothes before tinkering with the ship. While she's busy minding her own business, a suspicious hand suddenly popped up towards her. To her horror, she discovered that an uninvited guest was making itself comfortable inside her shuttle. Hoping to conceal herself, she flees toward the locker. But she realized that her efforts were pointless because the alien wasn't in a mood to play. Seeing it as a chance, she puts on one of the spacesuits and armed herself with a harpoon. She sat down near a control panel, then slowly sings to herself to steal her nerves. One by one, she pushed the button in the control panel which opened up a sequence of air vents where the alien was resting. The pressure of the steam coming from the air vents drove the alien out of its hiding place. The alien made an effort to stealthily approach her from the front. Feeling sorry for the alien's pathetic attempt, Ripley turned her back on it to give it a chance to help boost its confidence. The moment the alien was about to attack her, she pulled out a reverse card by quickly opening the hatch. The alien reacted on time by clenching both sides of the doorway, but Ripley aimed the harpoon at it and showed it who's boss. In a last-ditch effort to survive, the alien climbed on one of the shuttle's heat thrusters. Ripley, tired of the alien's antics, fired up the engine, which blasted the alien away to oblivion. Exhausted, Ripley recorded a log entry stating the demise of Nostromo and its crew. Finally, she signs off and joins her cat in hibernation.